Hey guys, this is Matt. I thought I'd make a little um, adventure today on my Charleston adventures. Uh, the good news is it's not going to be as long as the previous New Orleans one that I did because I didn't go here 5 times. This is only the second time I've ever been here. And the first time I didn't even look for anything. I just liked the city itself. And but once I left, I'm like, okay, I got to know what that one is. And then so once I think I figured out how to translate Byron and John, I could kind of come up with an idea of where to go if I ever went back. So to my surprise, it didn't take me long to find something kind of plausible, at least in my opinion. And keep in mind, this is all of this is just my opinion. I don't take anything too serious, but this is where I think they put it, and the reasons I think they put it there. I was able to film a lot back there, but I did a terrible job at it. So I'll just add some stuff and mute it at the end so you can kind of see it in person. But I'm going to try to like Google Earth through here and show you a little bit this way. So the initial uh, romance retold, seen by eyes of old, is the Playhouse. And the reason I think it's the Playhouse is I think it's kind of a play on like if you're on stage and you're pretending you're not old. Only the eyes of old are the people sitting in the audience. You're not old if you're old if you're not playing pretend. Um, but that's I think that's where the starting point of this one is, and it's got the two kind of like uh, arched doors there a little bit. I mean, that's not. I don't think that's the shield or anything like that. But I just found it interesting. But I did. This is my starting point of where I thought it was. So the things that surprised me in my original theory, and I've posted this on my little YouTube page, but I thought that he had put it right here. Like I thought he had put it right in front of the playhouse, kind of looking down the alley. But I don't think he may have. I think he may have actually put it in the alley now, and and that's part of the reason I don't want to play the video that I because I'm like talking myself through it, trying to work through what's going on and how I think they did it. But anyway, let's get started. So the between two arms extended is the duel itself, and just from memory, a lot of these puzzles work differently. A lot of the story is in the image. Sometimes a lot of it is in the verse. Sometimes they're 50-50. And this one is a little bit different in the sense that I believe John is illustrating. He's just illustrating a shot um, in the image. And the reason I say it's a shot is because I'm trying to, as best I can, approach this like a 14-year-old. A, something they would know or understand, and B, if there was a way to get to that spot by just reading about it, or and trying to approach it that way. Like a good example is, I think Byron was a very smart guy, but you're not going to convince me he knew what Preservation Hall was in New Orleans. Um, that's just something that was what 3,000 miles away, however far it is from him. And I lived 2.5 hours away from there growing up, but I'd never heard of it. And I've been down there and stuff like that, and I'd never heard of that. And I'm sure the locals all there know what it is, but you're just not going to convince me that he would have known what stuff like that is. And I think that a lot of these puzzles work this way: is we're supposed to kind of already know from what I can see, a lot of these events, and then treat it like if we were a 14-year-old or 12 or whatever, however young Byron expected to be able to solve this. We have to pretend to be that person or act that role out. And for this one, it's the Burr Hamilton duel. And John illustrates the shot in the image. So if you treat the lion as Burr, right? And And I'm going to get to another interesting thing I think here in a minute. But if you treat the lion as Burr, and you say, okay, he's looks like he's battle scarred, he's just pissed, he's just staring us down, right? And then you've got like this little tiny limb, and you got a tree fairy, and she looks like she's going in an upward motion, and there's a shield directly behind her. So in the Burr Hamilton duel, Hamilton's bullet hit a limb above and behind Burr. And I think that's John illustrating that by the tree fairy pushing the limb up to shield the lion. So I think he's just telling that part of the story more than anything. And yes, the Charleston clues are there in the low country and all that stuff. That's in there to help you get to Charleston. But the story is the most important part of the puzzle. You have to know the story. And no, this does not have to happen in Weehawken, New Jersey. If we did everything historically, 50% of these puzzles will be in the city of Boston, and that's it, right? But you can play out in an imaginative way different events in history at different places. So another example is, and I've shown this in other videos as well, like Sacagawea and the Lewis and Clark expedition. He's playing that out in St. Augustine. And the reason you're at that Fountain of Youth is because you have to be Juan Baptiste. You're playing the role of Sacagawea's child. He wants you to drink the water, become young, and pretend you're young. And you go through the first 6 lines. That's the Lewis and Clark expedition. You just have to know how to translate Byron. But anyway, so back to this one. Sorry, I got on a little rant there. But so, like I said, I expected to find this across the street, like in that planter right there. And I expected to hear water. There's a grate right there. And I kind of thought the teeth on that grate were the teeth on we'll call it the Fort Sumter part, which represents Hamilton because his death hung on that limb, right? And there's lots of little things in that verse that hint to the story as well. It's not just the two arms extended. Um, Burr went by the name Edwards, and that's after Edwin and Edwina. And there's other little things in there too. Hear the cool, clear sound of water could be. It's one of two things. It's either him dying in the boat going back across the Hudson, or it's him standing next to the Hudson about to have a duel, like stand and listen to the birds, before the shot rings out. He's doing that. He's telling these little stories, and he's using what's around him to kind of tell those stories. But so I kind of expected to hear water, like laying next to this thing, like we're dying, and the cask would be right here. He did this sort of similar things in Boston and Chicago with Booth and Revere. But anyway, so what I found interesting was when I went in here, and on my video, you'll see this a little bit different. They changed this up so much. But here's like a arching looking thing, and there's two of these in here. There's one there, and then there's one like right there. But yeah, so you go down to right about here. Okay, so this is really, really grainy, and you can't really tell anything. But you get about right here, and you can hear water. You can't see it, but you can hear it, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then, and it doesn't really show here, but like right here, behind these bushes, there's this really huge stain, like there's a fountain on the other side of that wall. And it's been there a while to make that wall look that way. You can kind of see it where it gets dark behind there, but I thought that was interesting. And so once I got here and he's using the 5 to point this way, I was more thinking, okay, well, maybe it's somewhere over here, right? And you really can't tell from this horrible, horrible Google Earth thing. But this is the shape of home plate. I'll show you a picture of it at the end of the video. But this is it looks like it's a shape of a home plate, which I found very interesting. And I didn't find that until I walked right over the top of it and didn't even notice it. And then when I went back to the hotel, I was watching the video I took on my phone, and I noticed that plate, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." So, and it's kind of like right in front of this wall thing here. But anyway, I'm still, keep in mind, I'm trying to work this out. My family's there. They're extremely bored with it. And I don't want to keep them there too long. So I can't really concentrate as much as I like. But the really, really just jaw dropping part to me was the fact that I could hear water and not see it at this point. And the first day we could really, really hear the birds in here too, which was interesting. So as you get to here, you also see at the top of these things here are these um, these guys right here, which look like the little round things in the butterfly's wings. So at the end of the street, there's a White House that has them on it as well over on this side. And then when you get to the other end of the street, those things exist in a little bit different that look like they almost look like a donut, but if you had another circle inside it. But those are also in the angel's wings. So I think the things that look like speakers are like actually these things right here. But anyway, so back to the saw. So once I got home and kind of put it together, it's like, okay, maybe just knowing how Byron did this, I don't know if I can even see that stone from here. Anyway, I'll show you a picture of it later. But I thought, okay, maybe he pried that thing up and put it under there. But that's not true to the story. Like you could probably pry that up and put it under there, but that's not the story. So if you go back to the story of Burr and Hamilton, Burr never made it to the White House. The White House was close at hand, but he just never made it to the White House. Well, that thing looks like home plate, which is a home is a house. So I'm thinking the cask is in almost reach, like you can't quite reach that, but over here on the side, you would be able to reach that. So if I had to guess, I would say that cask was probably right here somewhere within reach of that. So if you look at the image directly to the right of that home plate right there would have been where the diamond was illustrated in the image itself. So I think that if I had to guess, it would have been like right here somewhere. Um, right, it's definitely on this side, but it's going to be where you can't reach that White House. It's definitely, and Byron was tall, so his arms would have been long, so it would have been within almost reach of that White House. And that's exactly where I would look first as the closest place you could almost reach it and never get there. Um, and that is my best guess as to where the cask is for this one. So back to those little donut things, and then I'll shut up and show y'all some video and stuff. Let's see. They redid all of this in 2005. Um, so I don't know if one thing I would like to like if I lived there, I would go to the city and ask them when they redid this, was it just the edges or was it the brick too? I would think, knowing this is Charleston, they would have kept that brick and stone as much as they could. They wanted to keep, they love keeping stuff the same the way in this town. If you buy like one of these $12 million houses, you can't paint it any color you want. It has to be the color it was like in the 1800s. It's crazy. So yeah, the historical society has to uh, works with the city to approve changes and get licensed like builders to build stuff at like the same way it would have looked like way back then. So when you get here, you can see those little guys right there. Those are in the angel's wings too. So I think Byron took a shot of those little decorative things on both sides. So if you were coming from this side, you would see it. If you were coming from the other side, you would see it and kind of know you're in the right place. But that is a puzzle to this one is just the Hamilton Bird Duel, and you have to be you. I thought you have to be Hamilton since he's the good guy, but this is the part that I promised you the new thought process on. What's interesting was through the magic of the secret is he's not necessarily having you be the good guy in all these. Sometimes you have to play the bad guy. And he did that in Chicago. You had to be Booth. You had to play the bad guy. And that's just the way that would work. And he's having you, and he's almost like he's not having us always play the main character, which in this one actually would have been Hamilton because he's actually on our $10 bill, right? Burr's not on it, but he had us play a Juan Baptiste in that puzzle, or the idea was to become young, and he's just doing little things like that that are just fun and imaginative. And then so if you pretend you're in a duel in this alley, you got a lot of these trees that lean over. I kind of wondered if we were supposed to have one of those trees like block our view or something weird like that. And this was thoughts I had later on because a lot of them lean over. So I would imagine that one's been there a while. And you hear the water like right. See, you would stand right. There's that home plate looking thing right there. But let me go see if I can get a picture of it real quick. Let's see if I can find one. I've got like a ton of pictures to look through, so it may take me a second. Where is that guy? There it is. And I'll put pictures at the end of this to add to it. But that is what that thing actually looks like. It's in the shape of a home plate. And like I said, I thought he may have put it under it. But that's not close at hand. That will be at hand. So it's going to be within reach of that thing right there. You have to play Burr in this one, and you cannot reach it. You've already shot Hamilton, and other little things in the verses. That's really interesting when you really read the story. And I think this is the important part. Like the way that he thought, that I'm talking about Byron, is that these things would be solved. Is they he thought that we would just read two arms extended and maybe White House close at hand, and we would say, "Oh, that's the bird duel," and then we would go to the library and really, really, really read up on it and go, "Okay, well, yeah, that's Edward's named after him." He yelled, "Wait!" And I think that's why Byron uses the word "weights" in there. In some accounts, Burr yelled "wait" when he realized the bullet wasn't anywhere near him. That Hamilton threw his shot away. He yelled "wait," and I think that's part of it too. He kind of like at that moment he kind of felt bad, but we were supposed to read all this and learn it in detail, right? And then ask ourselves, okay, where could we go to Charleston after seeing the other stuff in the painting to say where could we go have a duel? And the only place you could do that is Jeweler's Alley. That would make the most sense anyway. And he gives us the first few lines in the verse to get us to the playhouse too and stuff. But I do believe that's where this thing is at or was. Like I said, they redid this whole thing inside here, and there's a lot of like, I mean, it's gorgeous in there. So don't dig, don't do it. But if you want to experience something cool, go stand on that home plate and just listen. You'll hear a faint sound of water and you'll hear birds, and it's just really cool. You're between two arms extended at that point, and it's just a really neat feeling to experience. And but we had a great time. We got to visit Fort Sumter, and did this. And like I said, I came home and thought about it for a while, and it's like, yeah, I bet you that. I bet he put it within reach of that since it says close at hand, because Bird just couldn't get to the White House. And knowing that story is the most important part of these puzzles. You just have to know the story, but it's going to be something a 14 or 12-year old might have a chance of already knowing or at least heard of. Now, he may have to go read it in detail. Um, uh, a teenager might have to go read it in detail to understand it fully and get the little subtle hints and clues, like the central bank was established in 1913, things like that. But it'll confirm the stories for them. But anyway, so that was our adventures. We had a great time there. We got to go to the market there. Like I said, we went to Fort Sumter, and we just did a lot of walking around. And I did this for maybe I got to be there like maybe 30 minutes total. And it was really really hot one day, and the family just wasn't having it. But yeah, they wanted to go do something else, so we did that. But yeah, it was really cool to do it. I enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll get to do another one. I don't know if I'll do one anytime soon. We did make it down to St. Augustine, and I'll try to do a video on that one too. But it's not going to be anything like here's the X or anything like that. But on this one, it was really interesting. If they did not change that side, and they just like maybe they just put new plants in there, it actually may still be down there. But if they just dug all of that out, and the other problem is Charleston floods a lot. So that thing in 40 years could have been just flat out washed out. To be honest, they on the tour guide, he told me that Charleston's actually sinking. It sinks so far each year, and then in a while, it just floods more and more and more. So that poses a problem as well. And I don't know if this is like city property or somebody's backyard. I'm assuming it's somebody's backyard, but it is gorgeous in there. I mean, the plants are just beautiful, and I'll post pictures so you can see it more clear here at the end of this little recorded session. But yeah, that was our adventure. So if y'all get a chance to go to Charleston, check out your spot and do your thing, and then just have some fun, and just if nothing else, just walk down this alley. It is just absolutely gorgeous. So anyway, you guys have a good one, and I will talk to y'all later. One last thing I forgot to add, that's kind of an important one, is the line of where law defended. Um, that was also part of the Burr story because they tried him for treason after the duel, and the duel was defended by law, saying like they kind of agreed to it. So that was just a line that was part of the story, and I thought that was kind of an important one. So sorry about that, but I thought I'd add that in there as well. Um, it may not be something that's physically there; it's just part of the story to help you understand who it is and where you need to go. Anyway, that's it.